From the time I began anime a decade ago until now, there has been a massive shift and upscale of fantasy shows. I can attribute a lot of this to the boom of isekai, which may lend itself to a lot of rinse and repeat. But in this video, we'll be highlighting 10 underrated fantasy anime as a whole for you to enthrall yourself into. Leave your own underrated fantasy anime in the comments below in case I may have missed any. And let's not beat around the bush and begin. The Weakest Tamer began a journey to pick up trash is one mouthful of a title. Having aired this year, the fantasy adventure isekai features Femicia, who is on the run after being branded a curse due to her unprecedented level 0 skill in town. You see, in this world, everyone has a unique skill that is given a level, which henceforth determines their contribution to society. But after having been shunned by everyone, Femicia sets off on her own to reach the royal capital, changing her name to Ivy and masking herself as a boy in the process. This is very much a slower burn adventure, as we watch Ivy slowly befriend the people and creatures around her for the very first time to realize her own self-worth and trust in others, with my personal favorite character being a cat that we meet later on. The anime additionally possesses some of the most beautiful animation out there, and very much feels as if we are just beginning what is a long-winded adventure for Ivy. Praying for season 2. The usage of colors and its metaphors to express emotions, alongside how the supernatural fantasy elements blend seamlessly with the romantic school drama anime, is what makes Iroduku the World in Colors unique. Sent back in time 60 years by her grandmother, the colorblind Hitomi is on a mission to find herself and the color in her life. She ends up at the same school as her grandmother Kohaku, who is now her classmate, and meets up with the artist Yuito, whose drawings flood her world with color, sparking her self-development journey filled with magic, growth, and color. The story is highly emotional, filled with beauty both in animation and storytelling, and although the characters were the weakest part in my opinion, what they convey from the bigger picture and their journeys from start to end was still phenomenal. Iroduku is an easy recommendation to make. Airing in the peak of the villainous anime genre outburst, why Raeliana ended up at the Duke's mansion may have been skipped out on by many due to the fatigue from the repeated themes in the subgenre. However, the anime takes a more dramatic and witty approach towards being reborn as the villainess and overcoming her death in the game, bringing some pretty good psychological warfare and tension in the process. Raeliana puts her all into outsmarting the Duke Noah, who is the Otome game's male protagonist, resulting in some sweet, dramatic, and great moments in this anime. Radiant's forgettable start was enough for nearly everyone to write it off, but the more you go through it, the better and better it gets to the point where there's just nothing quite like it out there in anime. The setting takes place in a world where sorcerers are created by the infections of nemesis. Nemesis being a demonic entity that falls from the sky and destroys everything it touches. This infection instills a lot of fears in humans and makes them very hateful towards sorcerers. And our MC Seth is a sorcerer that dreams of a world where humans and sorcerers can get along. His ultimate goal is to find the mythical Radiant, which is the source of all nemesis, and the Radiant is said to bring about all of the answers and can end the discrimination that he faces. A lot of the anime's themes derives from this cruel societal racism and segregation, and it explores the topic in deep depths whilst providing some of the most mythical and well-realized fantasy worlds in anime. The show begins with a lot of fluff, but really makes you connect with all of the sorcerers and root for them in their times of need. And by the end, it's not the same show it started off as, so I implore you to give Radiant a shot. Something about Kemono Jihen gave me major late-night cartoon vibes. Maybe it's the animation or how stylish and full of personalities the characters are, but boy, when the action gets going, it definitely is very anime. A tale about Kemono, beast-like creatures who exist in tandem with humans, and a cast of half-human and half-mythological kids. We follow Kohachi, a half-ghoul who begins to work in a detective agency that specializes in the occult. The agency is full of a lot of fun, and there's a sense of overlooming mystery surrounding the background of a lot of our characters. So hopefully if this ever gets a second season, we will get some answers. Sleepy Princess in Demon Castle is the perfect anime to put on while you're snuggled up before you get your nightly shut-eye. Everything is a means to an end for our princess, as even entrapped in the Demon Lord's territory, she wreaks havoc all over in order to optimize her own position to sleep in. Whether she cuts ghouls in half for blankets, tears apart demonic teddy bears for extra stuffing, nothing is safe from her terror. making you really question who the real demon of the show is too. Regardless, the anime is very cute and will always end off leaving you feel very relaxed yourself. Perfect to get your mind off of a full day. Drifting Dragons explores the sky through the pursuit of hunting down dragons. The creatures play a core in this world, as the anime follows the lives of the dragon hunters called Drakers, setting to the skies to pursue dragons, from eating them, hunting them from sport, and the dangers that can come from the job. Drifting Dragons is a lighter fantasy with a lot of darker undertones, and the anime is aware of the controversies as the crew themselves are ostracized for their career choice, and while being sort of lighthearted, there are some dangers presented in the show. Overall, Drifting Dragons was a fun time that might feel a bit shallow at times, but for what it sets out to do, it does so in strides. As the title states, The Sunday Without God follows a world in which God has abandoned it, resulting in the cycle of life being unable to begin and end. The dead people walk restlessly amongst the living beings, and the only way the dead can truly be put to rest is through gravekeepers. The anime follows Ai, a cheerful, naive young girl who serves as her village's gravekeeper, and her journey traveling the lands and putting people to rest. At a completed 12 episodes, The Sunday Without God is a short, emotional story, but what truly makes it shine is just the amount of vast ideas that the world building lends itself into, and the anime takes full advantage of it, with my particular favorite being the city of the undead that they visit that kinda reminds me a bit of Coco. I definitely need me some Jesus after watching The Sunday Without God. Knowledge is power in this isekai. Ascendance of a Bookworm is about how our MC Mine, reborn as a frail little girl, uses her knowledge of books in her previous life to advance the new world around her. Whether it's through learning how to make paper or inventing new recipes, she's constantly drawing the attention of everyone around her for how smart she is. The process to which Mine has to invent something new in order to get to her end goal of having more books was so fascinating to see. Seeing the process of her struggling to make paper, to ink, to trying to make the concept of what a book is to a world so foreign to it is when the show shines best. But it's not just that, as there are political elements that come into play with the power and economic gap between peasants and nobles, and Mine, both with the unfathomable amount of magical mana she has, to the constant attention she draws to herself, is always in the center of this. Sitting at 3 seasons right now, Ascendance of a Bookworm is a refreshing take on the tired isekai formula, filled with a lovable world, characters, and ideas. Grimgar's selling point comes from how it attempts to take a realistic portrayal on waking up in another world. With nothing but vague memories from their past, a bunch of people who wake up in this unknown world are forced to survive with nothing but their magical roles and learn the hard way what it's like living in the world of Grimgar. It's kill or be killed here, as everyone struggles to make it out of this game-like setting slowly and hopelessly. I loved the slower pace of this anime. The slower pace really raises the tension in seeing how our favorite characters will stay alive, and there are definitely a lot of surprises in store for this anime. We desperately need a full adaptation in order to see how everything develops with our characters from start to end. Those are 10 fantasy anime I recommend that I feel deserve more spotlight and attention, to varying degrees. In case I missed any again, I encourage you to leave yours in the comments so everyone can see it. Thank you so much, and be sure to check out what underrated anime I have to highlight in other genres, lengths, and demographics. I'll see you in the next video hopefully.